Okay, here we go. Okay, so what are y'all's name and what is Peer Connect?
I'm Nayana Kuileth, and Peer Connect is a club that we wanted to start for kids to come together and talk about their difficulties and help each other through it, especially since we don't have such a support group at our school.
Hi, I'm Brooks, and I'd say Peer Connect is just a place to unwind and find common ground to talk about and stuff.
I'm Cassie Abano. We wanted to form Peer Connect to have like a support system that's always there for students to be able to feel welcome in and feel comfortable to talk about their issues. And we also wanted to help destigmatize the mental health conversation so that more people would be able to willing to open up.
I'm Monse Gata. I think Peer Connect, more than anything, is a sense of community. I think by building that community within the student body, it makes it a lot easier for people to reach out when they need help, or to build upon that conversation that Cassie was talking about and start normalizing the fact that everyone has mental health, because it's true. So in starting that conversation, it just becomes a lot easier for people to get what they need. So was there like an event that happened for each of you or a few of you that made you realize how needed your group is? I think more than a specific event, it's like over the course of high school, kind of realizing that there isn't a specific place for people to go to and they need help with their mental health. And like my experience in classrooms with a lot of teachers is the not paying any regards to students' mental health and not taking into account how that could possibly affect their schoolwork or their tests or anything like that. So just kind of noticing that and realizing that there has to be some changes. I don't know what made me realize like this is very much needed.
For me, it came out of my own need for a safe space, especially last year because I was struggling with my mental health. So that's why I reached out to my counselor. She got me some help with having a therapist, and then through that we also reached out to Miss Thorin because we've worked with her before through SART Peers, which is the sexual assault resource team, and we thought she would be very willing to help out with a mental health group, as SART Peers had the same idea of helping to educate or helping our classmates feel safer in the classroom when it comes to such serious, heavy topics like mental health.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't like one event. It was mostly just about there being a lack of it. I noticed it kind of in middle school. I noticed that like, hey, like mental health is a serious thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we need to talk about, and it's not really talked about. And going into high school, I went into Sources of Strength, hoping to get something done. That was the COVID year, and after my freshman year, Sources of Strength went down.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a Sources of Strength right now, I think. And I need to look into that, but I'm pretty sure it should be in every school.
Mm-hmm.
So not having that there was kind of a big wake-up call to be like, hey, this is something we need to talk about. And no club, no group has ever really talked about this or done anything about this, so I wanted to get involved.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with everyone, and I don't have a specific event. I just think that it is something that I personally need and I would like in the school, and so I think that us building this up together was a really important project, and especially helping other people around the school so that they don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a really beautiful thing how it came about, because at first we were like, oh, does it have to be like a set structured thing like having a Sources of Strength chapter? But we also noticed that in several cases in like past schools we've been in, or just like even the Sources of Strength chapter that was here, it wasn't effective, or it needed to be rebranded in a way because students weren't using that resource, or they weren't aware of that resource, or they just thought that, like with the counselors, they were too afraid to reach out and talk to these kinds of resources.
The good thing about Peer Connect is, I mean, I think one of the issues a lot of people don't, like, get help with their mental health is because they're afraid to ask for it.
Yeah.
And with Peer Connect, it's not really just, like, coming to ask to get help with it. It's kind of just finding a safe space to exist and kind of find shelter from whatever else is going on in the rest of your life, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, the way that you're saying about how it came about, we really did take inspiration from other schools and other models of similar groups, such as, like, Happy Crew, which is a house where they host also kids from all over the neighborhood on Mondays to talk about mental health and destigmatize, and some place where you can be together with people who, just so you know that you're not alone. And we went to that and we learned a lot, and we've taken inspiration from that to our club. So.
Yeah, I think that's so important, like doing research on other schools, because I feel like maybe a stereotype that I have about clubs like that is that they aren't actually helpful, they're just there, or there's something about it that's inaccurate. And I feel like y'all said, you don't have to come in and ask for help, you just show up, is so important, because it also just makes kids feel less alone. And I feel like Brooks and I were in the collaborative, and we get to do a lot of research with George Washington High School in Denver, and I feel like being in kind of a quote-unquote bubble that we're in, it's so important to look outside of our school for inspiration.
And we wanted to form it in that way where it's an open space and people can just freely come in, and there's no, like, set membership, there's no attendance, there's no homework, tasks, whatever, points scoring, I don't know. But because clubs can actually be a source of stress for a lot of people, so we didn't want that group to sort of hold students down like some of their other extracurriculars might be doing, because it can be kind of a burden when everything piles up on top of each other, no matter how passionate students are about a certain club. If you're doing too much, sometimes that balance can become ruined by whatever you're doing. So,
For sure.
And I think that this club, like you said, it's not supposed to be a place of stress. Like, it can help balance out, like, the other clubs. Like, if other clubs are a source of stress, then this one is here to help you with that stress, you know.
Kind of moving away from the structure of the club, what do you guys think is the biggest problem in our community that causes mental health issues? Like, why are teens so much more depressed and so much more anxious now than they've been in the past?
I think there's a lot of factors that go into, like, it's kind of hard to say it's one thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot to do with culture, especially like with social media nowadays. I think that sets a really harmful standard for a lot of people. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's not understanding what students need or, like, their kids need, and, like, the, like, negative stigma around mental health a lot of the time. I think people tend to place it on others, like, oh, like, there's something wrong with you, like, why can't you just feel normal like everyone else? And with that comes such a harmful stereotype that people who have mental health problems are just not normal, which is certainly an issue. So I think with just even, like, talking about it makes it a lot more easier for people to come forth about what they're struggling with and what they need and where they can get that from.
I think there's just so many layers to the mental health issue. Social media is definitely a part of that. I got an Instagram account last night because I was like, oh, I feel FOMO. I need to get an Instagram account so I can, like, be up to date with everything. I don't know. But I can already feel it, like, affecting, like, pulling me towards my phone and making me want to check everything, or even just the numbers, just having those there, it just feels so wrong to me to put my self-worth on superficial numbers that don't really mean anything. But I just think that paired with the culture where people are always comparing themselves to other people, whether it be academics or just like body image, all those layers of everything on top of each other just makes everything so much worse.
Yeah.
I think something that could be is the lack of talk, the lack of expressing yourself, or expressing yourself in a way that doesn't benefit you. You're always trying to adjust to other people. You're always trying to meet people's standards and stuff like that. It's mostly holding back yourself for someone else so then you look better. I think that's one of the biggest problems with high school is we have a bunch of people who are young, a bunch of people who are learning new things, and they don't know how to express themselves in the way they feel like they should be expressed.
Yeah.
But they know how to be liked by people, so they do that. And that doesn't help them. It just makes it a problem for them. It blocks them from being themselves.
Yeah. Like between you two, like I feel like talking about putting your self-worth in almost a statistic, like how many likes you get on Instagram or what your status is at school, because like I feel like there is a hierarchy in high school and it's
Absolutely.
so interesting, and I feel like that kind of relates to what you're saying. And I feel like for me, for a long time, I put my self-worth into superficial things like that because I didn't know how to express myself. And whenever you find the way that works for you, that works for the way that you express yourself, I feel like a lot of that hierarchy kind of falls down whenever you're not putting your self-worth into other people, either way that it is, real life or social media.
I mean, like, going back to, like, the hierarchy, I think it's so, like, there definitely is one. I think it's really hard to deny it, but
Yeah.
the issue, like, that I see with it a lot is, like, when people of, like, quote-unquote higher status tend to look down on other people because they're different from what they perceive to be as normal, it's, like, the hate that those students get or, like, the feelings of discomfort that they receive, there's only so much, like, self-love that they can have to protect themselves from it. But I think as a society we don't do enough to teach others how to love. Like, it's so much about, like, self-love to protect yourself, but we don't teach others to, like, respect the other people in the first place. Like, they shouldn't need to defend themselves with their own self-love. Why, like, why isn't loving other people a normal standard? It shouldn't be stigmatized, like, oh, it's weird that you don't think they're weird. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. Why can't there just be a standard of this person deserves respect because they're a person?
Yeah.
And love it's not like a finite resource. I don't know why we're acting like we have to hoard it all for ourselves or keep it to whatever clique we're part of in that hierarchy. So yeah, I completely agree. With that hierarchy, it's so hard for people to be authentic, or a lot of people feel like they have to hide a part of themselves away from everyone else. As part of like diversity club, Brooks, Nayana, and I are all part of diversity club, and we've seen that problem a lot where because there's a culture in school where people are not encouraged to be themselves, they're encouraged to fit in. There's just not a space for us to feel free and open. So yeah.
I mean, like, relating to being one of the diversity factors at VISTA, like, being a woman of color, like, there's that I was taught to push that aside, like, my identity aside for so long. Like, just keep your head down, fit in, like, don't give people a reason to hate you. And for some reason, like, that was enough for people to hate me. And I think, like, growing up in that kind of culture did so much to my head, like, my mental health. Like, I was convinced that people were always going to hate me because, I don't know, like, I was a woman of color and I had no place in a school like this. So I think now, if anything, is the time to start teaching kids to, like, embrace their culture, embrace their background, their heritage, like, their identity, or whoever they, like, whoever they are.
Yeah.
I think the same thing goes for like beauty too. People expect like something based on appearance, or just for some reason I've felt this, but like when you're not fitting this like conventional beauty standard, you're expected to be higher up in something else. Like if you're not pretty, at least be nice. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but that sort of feeling is just so gross, and like I've tried to get it off me. I'm like, oh my god, I have to get this sort of mindset out of me, but sometimes I still think that way, where if I don't feel beautiful, it's like, well, I at least have to be smart, or I at least have to be something else so that people can like me, or I can at least, have some sort of status in this hierarchy.
And I think like the increase in like mental health these days with like our kids our age is it's always been there. Like it's always been there, and I feel like just now is like our stuff starting to come up, like hard topics, and even though it's not fully destigmatized and we still are on the track to get it to be something to talk about like normally.
You're good. Going back to like what Cassie said about beauty standards, I think like this isn't even like a school problem or like a district problem. It's just a societal issue on how much we are reliant on beauty standards and how much we attribute how good a person is or how well they should be treated by their physical appearance. And it's really jarring to see that, and it's worse to see it in like middle school or even elementary school. Like,
Oh god, yeah.
it's just I growing up, like I don't think I experienced that much, but like
I agree.
going down there to like volunteer nowadays, I do see like the rudest kids just because someone else doesn't look like them. And I don't know where that sense of hatred is coming from, but it's like it's a problem that should be like cut off from the beginning. So if we start implementing stuff on, not like being more inclusive, but being taught to love harder from a young age, I think that could do such a difference for the rest of society as time progresses.
Absolutely.
In high school, I feel like that's when people start to get sour. I've been part of multiple friend groups, and multiple of them have been disbanded because somebody, like, they didn't like someone anymore because of such and such reasons, and they're all just BS reasons. There's no good reasons, and people turn sour when they start to get this idea of, like, I almost want to say, like, a herd, just...
Herd mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's one of my biggest gripes with, like, high school right now is just everyone is becoming so rude. There's so many friend groups I know that just broken up because of rumors or someone wasn't like them because now they don't respect each other.
Yeah.
I think that also comes with people being afraid of change. When like you're in a friend group and maybe you're changing, like that can ruin someone's expectations of you, or people have a certain expectation of what their friends should be like. I experienced this when I like felt that a certain kind of pronoun fit me better than the pronouns I was using before. And I kept changing them. They're like, it's everywhere now, but she, her, by the way. But it just, people always have set expectations of the people around them. So I think that ruins our ability to feel empathy for others when we impose our expectations on them.
If we can see people for more than their appearance or their labels, it can change it. And if you don't care to know them, don't talk about them. And I feel like people are so they need something for them to hold on to with people, and I think that goes to the hierarchy, like the popular kids or the weird kids or the lesbian, or like people have something that they like hold on to put a name to that person in their head, and it is so harmful whenever, I don't know, it's just so harmful.
Yeah.
And that's definitely like mostly in high school.
Mhm.
Like, I'm sure after high school, a lot of these things just, you don't care about them anymore, but
Hopefully.
hopefully.
Fingers
hopefully,
crossed,
yeah,
God.
but like, there's not as much of a hierarchy because it's a huge world, not just like the 20 other people in your like English class, you know.
Mhm.
But it still sticks with you because like the things, like the harmful words said or things talked about, it definitely still sticks with you throughout your life.
I agree with that. Like, growing up, my mom was like, in middle school, I got called like a slur, like the N-word, and I remember getting called to the principal's office because someone like started a rumor that we were gonna fight over it, and our principal was black, and he like sat down and he talked with me, and he was like, you're just gonna have to accept the fact that, you know, you're a person of color in a very white dominated society. And I had like an hour-long talk with our principal about what white privilege looked like, why I'm just gonna have to accept that. And I mean, my mom always said that too, like, you're gonna need to learn how to just be brave. And I don't think, like, that's such a harmful, I mean, it can be good, but I think it's more harmful than that
Yeah.
to tell a kid to, like, just deflect
Mhm.
instead of teaching other kids to accept.
Exactly.
Like, it's really harmful, and I don't know why, like, that's the standard, to teach kids to just protect themselves from everything instead of teaching kids to accept what's around them and love and grow.
It's the same with like men, I feel like.
Yes.
Like he's just a boy, or teaching your girls to protect themselves instead of teaching your boys not to be a predator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Why
it's
should
definitely
sorry.
no, it just definitely starts in childhood. Like
It does.
and everything that happens in childhood affects you and for the rest of your life, and it's just everything that happens, it sets you up of how you act, and if you don't change that or at least try to be someone better, or like the adult figures in your life try to help you, like it's just not gonna go well.
Yeah, and why should the blame or responsibility to like fix something that you've experienced, why should that be put onto you? Why shouldn't it be the responsibility of everyone
Yeah.
to fix that problem together? So yeah, I completely agree. When people are like, oh, you don't show your shoulders, you're trying to provoke other people, I'm just being myself.
Yeah.
It's the responsibility of everyone to sort of create a better environment for everyone to feel safe in.
I remember getting told because I have really curly hair, but I used to brush it out because no one told me you weren't supposed to do that because my whole family has straight hair.
Oh.
And I remember in middle school, after that whole thing happened, this girl that sat at my lunch table was like, well, that's why you get called the N-word, like, you brush your hair out and wear it like that. And I was like, and it's like, that's why? Like, you don't think it's, like, a culture of racism? Like,
Yeah.
it was my hair, and that, like, the stereotype that comes with that, like, you think I deserve to be called a slur because I don't know how to take care of curly hair?
Straighten your hair and you
Yeah,
won't
like-
get called the N-word.
Yeah, like, and then that put, like, such a weird thing on me about my hair. Like, it always has to look perfect, and I, like, it's so stupid that...
It always does.
it, like, it's so... It really sucks that everything that's, like... What's the word? It starts with D. No.
Discrimination.
I don't know. It just sucks that everything is kind of attributed to an outside force.
Denoted?
No.
No.
Anyways, but yeah. Like, it's always attributed to something else instead of the root of the problem.
For sure.
And it's just never paid attention to, whether it's, like, racism, sexism, like, homophobia, like, anything. It's just always the victim's fault and never the perpetrators, and it's stupid that it's like a culture was built around that.
Yeah.
There are so many stupid things out there where it's like, can't show shoulders, the pink tax, there's so many like things with, especially with like, I guess women, that are just so stupid. Like, the idea that you can't look too muscular, that was one thing that I'm just like,
Real.
this is like,
Real.
why?
They're scared.
Why?
Yeah.
You're scared I'll beat you.
There's so many, like, then again, it like comes back to the standards. Like, everyone has standards set on them, but I think it's a lot more prevalent for some people over others, and it's so stressful having to like try and live up to those standards, and you shouldn't need to. Like, you shouldn't be there and sit there and be like, I need to be like a dainty, polite woman who crosses her legs in a salon. Like,
Yeah.
no, like, just be who you are. And instead of people, like, learning to judge you, I think they should just learn to mind their business.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge problem.
What if I want to show off my guns? Like,
Mm.
don't be scared.
Yeah.
But-
I think that is a wonderful place to stop. I feel like ending on that is just perfect, and I really enjoyed this conversation.
No,
I
that
feel
was
like
great.
this was
Yeah.
awesome. And where can we find you guys, and where can you find more information about the Peer Connect?
Counselors are a great place to start. You don't have to be afraid to talk to them, or they're always open to talk with you. And they have resources on how you can get connected with more students. As for Peer Connect specifically, our emails. What do you
And
mean?
yeah, and we meet every Tuesday morning from 7:30 to the first bell.
The location, like, differs. It could be, like, in the conference room or the teacher's lounge,
No.
but just kind of keep an eye out on, like,
Yeah.
MVHS Counseling's Instagram.
Mhm.
And if you have any questions, like, don't hesitate to reach out to your counselors or one of us.
Yeah, I'll put contact information and stuff in the bio, so if anyone wants that, then they can check down there and it'll all be there.
But mostly it will be in the library.
conference room. Yeah.
Yes.
With hot cocoa sometimes, if you're lucky.
We're still figuring things out.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, thanks guys. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was so fun.
That was fun.